set your core values, really write out your mission, your vision, your culture statement, what you're trying to achieve. Visualize it. It doesn't have to be all pretty and look good, but what does that really look like? How do you want people to feel when they come into your home? How do you want your residents to feel, third-party people when they're associating with you, about that experience? How are they going to feel about that experience walking into your home?
Welcome to the Ral Room Assisted Living Podcast with your hosts, Charlie Cameron and Alex Schlow. This is your go-to show for cutting-edge insights from industry leaders in residential assisted living.
Whether you're ready to launch your own assisted living business or looking to invest in this fast-growing, high-impact sector, we are here to equip you with the tools, strategies, and confidence you need to succeed. Get ready to ride the silver tsunami and change the future of senior care. Now on to today's show.
Welcome back to today's episode of the Ral Room Assisted Living Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Cameron, and I am absolutely thrilled to have Lindsay Daudistel on the podcast today. Lindsay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. I heard you just got married. You just had a great trip, so congratulations on all of that. I can't wait to get into your story because you came and you presented to the Ral Room as well, and it was absolutely incredible, some of the tips you gave, and your story is incredible. But I do want you to tell the majority of it. So give our listeners a brief introduction of you and where you are right now in your journey, and then we'll kind of rewind back to where it all started.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Lindsay, and I actually started as a nurse. So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but started in surgery as a nurse. And I knew very quickly that was not where I was going to end up, and really wanted to focus on that entrepreneur journey. So long story short, I ended up quitting that position and started doing real estate investing full time on a total leap of faith. Through real estate investing, heard of the concept of residential assisted living, and we decided to jump all in and just do it. And from there, we started building our own and now have 9 homes. We will have 3 more opening up next month. So it's pretty exciting.
So that's an interesting pivot because a lot of folks either go directly from healthcare into owning a residential assisted living home or directly from real estate into going into residential assisted living, kind of getting into healthcare. But you went healthcare, real estate, residential assisted living. Tell us a little bit about what you did in real estate prior to discovering assisted living.
Yeah, well, and that's actually why when I heard of residential assisted living, I was like, oh my gosh, this checks all the boxes, right? Like I can do the nursing side, I know medical, and then we can do the business and the real estate stuff. But in real estate investing, I was really big into creative financing. I wanted to help people. That's always been my mission. So through real estate, we were able to help people through creating notes, flipping notes, lease options, land contracts. Of course, we flipped homes, rental properties, all the things.
Yeah, interesting. So for the listeners out there who may not be as familiar with the real estate investing side, Lindsay did some pretty complex stuff from the beginning, right? Notes are loans on properties that you can literally flip, lease options, leasing a property with the option to purchase or leasing it to a tenant with the option for them to purchase. A lot of kind of more complex stuff, creative financing. Did you use any of that creative financing when getting into assisted living as well? Did you kind of foray that into it?
Not initially. Have we done other deals along the way that we've had to be creative? And are we doing it right now actually with the deal? Yes. So that knowledge has been helpful, but certainly not necessary to be in this space.
Okay. So at what point when you were doing notes and leasing properties and things, did residential assisted living hit you in the face? And tell us how you got started on that first property.
Yeah, so partnered with my family, we had bought some land and we were going to be building 9 4-families. So we were going to have 36 total units. They're going to be very nice 4-families. And we had already built one. We were in the process of building the other one. And we had the numbers, right, for that. And 36 units on these, okay, make decent money there. And then I heard of this concept of residential assisted living and what it could do, the value add, how we could actually help people make an impact. And when we started looking at numbers, like, oh my gosh, like that makes a lot of sense. Like granted, it's not just real estate, it's a whole business, right? You're taking care of people, you're actually providing end of life care for people. But we went back and we said, okay, we could build 7 more of these 4-families on this property. But what if we just took one of those properties and made it into assisted living? And didn't even do any more? What would that look like? So we started looking at numbers and just the whole dynamics around it. It's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we went ahead and started with the first one and then over time built the other one. So that was kind of what really got us there. Again, like checking all the boxes, but from that real estate perspective of, well, we have this land, we have this is what we could make it into instead of rentals. So yeah.
So let me get this straight. One residential assisted living home, the math to be better than 7 additional four unit properties.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, for the listeners out there, this is why we say the right home will really set you up for success. I mean, can you share the number, like the number of beds and approximately the numbers on that home in terms of, cash flow and what it looked like when it was all said and done and stabilized?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Roughly.
I'm a visionary and I can like look at numbers and help with this. Let me work on this right now. So I know when we started with that, looking at it, well, first off, we had to still use the same shell. So we were still going to use the same shell of that building. So looking at that shell, it was, okay, I wanted to get 16 residents in a home. I wanted everybody to have their own private bed, private bath, and have a big open common area. And from the kitchen, be able to see the front door. I had all those stipulations. So we went back and we said, okay, how can we make the shell work with 16 residents? And then working the numbers backwards from there. Okay, if we have 16 residents, we could build it for X. And what can our loan be at that time? That was back in 2016, 2017-ish. So numbers were different then, especially for building. Very different. I think we ended up building that first one, again, 16 beds. The square footage of that is about 7,000 square feet. And
Wow.
I think we built that for like 500,000 or something. I mean, you can't do
Wow.
that now. No,
Wow. Yeah.
It was very,
Is
very
that
affordable.
one
You do have
bedroom
a
per
little bit.
resident, or how did you do that?
Say that again?
What did each resident have their own bedroom?
Yep. So
Okay.
everyone has their own private bedroom, private full bath. Yeah, we did all that with that home. Had a little salon. And at that time too, we were charging $5,500 per bed. Now we're up to like $7,500, $8,000 per bed.
Wow.
So when you look at those numbers, 5,000 to 5,500 times 16, and yeah.
Per month. Yeah. So let me ask you this. What was the most surprising challenge you faced when you started this home and getting it up and running, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah. So the most surprising challenge, again, I thought this was a fantastic idea. Like, build it and they will come, right? We're going to build this beautiful thing. We're in a neighborhood. Like, everybody's going to love this concept. How could they not? They walk in, they feel home. We got the fireplace going. It's so cozy. Well, nobody was coming. So, I had my family involved. Everybody was all in on this. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, this is going to sell. There's nothing else like this out there. Of course, people are going to want to come here. So the big surprise was I was out networking for a very long time before we actually got open. I submitted for license in August of 2017. We broke ground in April. I submitted for license in August. Like, they killed it on building that thing. And then, they didn't come till November for survey. I got the license in December. So after the holidays, I hit it hard. Like, all right, we're going to get move-ins come January. I didn't have my first move-in till like May 1st. I had 2 respites in April. And I didn't have my first move until May. So I would have open houses and do all this stuff and nobody would show. I mean, I remember literally sitting there crying, like twiddling my thumbs, just visioning though what it was going to be. But the big surprise was like, why is it so hard to get anybody in here initially? So that was a very big learning opportunity.
Okay, so what did you learn, and how did you then get, because you have 9 homes and 3 on the way. So obviously occupancy is no longer a problem. So how did it go from nobody for a few months to you don't have enough homes to fill? Like, how did you get on the path to 100% occupancy?
One, I would say resilience and positive mindset, and really the mind with all of it was huge. And I mean, if you guys are out there networking and you're talking to people at all, part of any kind of BNI or any other networking things, you have to know, like, and trust people. So even though I was out there doing marketing and I was just kind of word vomiting on people, like, oh my gosh, come check us out, right? No, they have to know, like, and trust you. So even though I was a nurse and I had experience in different things, they still ultimately had to know, like, and trust me and my product and what we could do to actually serve somebody. We're taking care of somebody's mom, somebody's grandma, end of life. I mean, it was huge. So to learn that and to make it about them and solving their pain point, it wasn't about me, it was about them and how we can best serve them. So once I really learned that and with their pain point, and then one after the other, and then referrals just kind of kept happening and building a really great reputation from there. But again, it's understanding their pain point and how to best serve them.
Yeah. So if I can summarize that, you had to retailer your message to what's in it for me, right? For the clients and the families, which obviously it worked. Are referrals your biggest resident source at this point?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, like I consider every move-in had to start as a referral from one way or the other.
Sure.
Um,
I just mean like, are you doing any online lead generation? Are you social media? Are you,
yes.
anything else like that?
Yes, all of
Placement
the above.
agents?
Yep, all of the above. And definitely digital marketing and Google, all of that. That's really increasing. We're putting a lot of effort behind that right now. But ultimately, it's your reputation in the community, it's the relationships that you have with other third party providers and other churches and just everybody. Word of mouth is huge. And yeah, that's absolutely our number one.
So that first deal, you were already a pretty savvy real estate investor. So tell me, one of the biggest challenges that a lot of folks face in this industry is financing. So how did you go about financing that first deal?
Sure. So I will say I was very blessed. Again, it was a family thing. So I went with my dad and brother, and we'd been working with a local bank anyway on the first couple homes that we were building as rental properties. So that local bank. So being able to work together, go to that local bank, and again, they had a relationship with us. So we were able to get the financing for that. And then they looked at numbers for the next one and ongoing. And we already have another one at that same location approved by the local bank to keep doing it there. So again, I was blessed. I know everybody doesn't always have that, but through the other ones, I've certainly had to go and find financing. Right now, we're going through a really huge SBA loan. So going that route. Now I will say with SBA, they need experience. So having that, I definitely
Hmm.
help people with that. I'm sure you do too, and helping people overcome that and be an advisor on the SBA route. But otherwise, your local banks, I mean, they're huge. Talking to investors, there's a ton of investors out there that want to be in this space. They just don't know about it or know how to be a part of it. They don't want to operate it. They don't want any part of operating it, but they want to be in this space because obviously we all
Yeah.
know the demographics and how it's heading. So speaking to them, they've been extremely beneficial as well in my growth.
That's awesome. I have a similar story when I got started in real estate. I went to a local bank and they financed my first deal. They took a risk. I bought two fourplexes as a poor lieutenant in the Air Force. And then I went back to them like a year later and said, okay, now I want to buy 16 more. And they were like, okay. Right. And so having those local bank relationships can be super, super key. A lot of people overlook that. They're like, I need a DSCR lender. I need an SBA lender. Yes, those are good options as well. But hey, there's nothing wrong with the local bank as well. The one downside is usually the bank's not going to finance the business as well. So you might still need to have some cash on hand. But totally agree with you. I mean, people think of banks as the big bad wolf, but the bank is just another partner in the total picture of what you need to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. Well, like you said, even if they're not financing the business, well, you get that startup money. I mean, there's so many different ways to come up with some startup money. That's a whole different ballgame than
Mhm.
coming up with the financing for a large piece of real estate.
Yeah,
You're
you can
talking
always bring
100 grand.
partners or bring investors. I mean, there's lots of options out there. You do have to be careful how you bring investors to a deal. There are right ways and there are wrong ways. So
Definitely.
you can't just raise money willy nilly. You have to have to follow certain rules, right? So what? Yeah, and I know you already shared a bunch of lessons with us, but if you could just share one or two of your biggest lessons learned as you went from one home to nine to almost 12 homes, there had to be a couple of big gotcha moments. Do you recall any of those and how you overcame those?
Big lessons. I'm a very trusting person, and
Mm, I
I
know where this is going.
I am a very trusting person when it comes to really everybody in my circle. And I believe that I kind of let the reins go a little too much at times. And it ends up, I don't say you get hurt, but you got to keep your pulse. You got
Mm,
to keep your thumb on the pulse with your company and with all aspects of it, and not just trust that everybody is doing exactly what you expect them to be doing. So that's been a really big lesson. And then, you have to shift and pivot and figure out better ways of doing things through all of those little lessons learned. But yeah, I would say, because I talk to people all the time that say, well, I want to get in this and then I just want to be hands off. And, I pretty much did that for a year when we went on the camper and we left for a year, but that caused other issues, right? So you need to keep your thumb on the pulse and make sure that you're still guiding the ship and making sure that the culture and all the systems and everything else that you want to have happening is really happening.
that's such good advice. So what systems or tools or processes have you put in place to ensure that people are doing, following your intent and performing the way you want them to perform?
Just more structure, more structure with the meetings, the set meetings that we have weekly, quarterly, all
Mm.
of that, a more organizational flow chart and who reports to who. And also we've eliminated like single points of failure, meaning we're
Wow.
realizing that only one person in our company was responsible for so many different things. But if that one person left on vacation or something terrible happened, then we would be like, oh my gosh, we don't even know how to do all these other things. So having more of a checks and balance system in place with every function of the company so that people truly can take vacations. And it's also setting you up for success, for growth, and just to make sure that more people know what's going on.
Man, that's such good advice. Take your biggest pain points and your weaknesses, your single points of failure, and figure out how to duplicate them. Right?
Yeah.
Kind of prevents issues in the future. That whole who not how concept. Have you read that?
Oh, I have not read that, but that saying like the who, not how. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Put that on your list. You
Okay.
know, we read that earlier this year and immediately hired two people. We're like, oh, we were doing things wrong the whole time. Like these are activities we don't need to be doing. And if people are trying to figure out like, hey, what things should I get off my plate so that I'm using my best time, using my time most wisely, one of the best tools for that, I think, is in Free to Focus. You kind of have to figure out what things are you good at and you're passionate about. That's where you need to be spending most of your time. And the things that, and then there's the stuff that you're good at and not passionate about, and stuff that you're passionate about but not good at, which you can still do, but you're just not doing a good job. And then there's the stuff that you suck at and you're not passionate about. And anytime you do, you lose all your motivation to do anything else. And so those are the things you gotta get off your plate. And I'm totally guilty of not getting them off my plate soon enough.
Well,
So
and I
highly
think that goes
recommend
with that whole mistake too of thinking, well, we don't have the money to hire that person, so
it.
therefore I'll just wear all the hats. Well, we don't have. Well, then you're just stuck in that lack mentality, and then you're just spinning your wheels. If you're hiring
Mhm.
forward, and that's like definitely something we've been doing this year for sure, is hiring additional people to do things, figuring out as we go the financials behind it, and then guess what? They bring more revenue, they bring more things, and then it's paid for, and then you can keep doing your other stuff. So.
Yeah. What are you losing out on by not having that person in your team doing that role better than you so that you can grow faster and focus on what matters for the growth of your company and building, focusing on the company rather than in? I think that's so key, right? Because if you're just sitting there doing all the tasks, you don't realize how much time you're wasting when somebody else could do it for cheaper, better, is more passionate about it, and then you could focus on growth. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's
The
super important.
opportunity cost is huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of roles have you been hiring forward?
Specific HR person, specific marketing director for just digital. I'm not doing anything else, but just like a digital marketer, really taking over like website stuff and just everything there. VA, I mean, obviously, like having that. So I'm going to transition over to an executive assistant. So it's not a VA, somebody really in house. And we have clinical director, and I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, we've been looking for, oh my gosh. Oh, we've been looking for a specific, like not a CPA, but like a bookkeeper specifically for us, doing more than just a bookkeeper, but kind of eliminating just the CFO role. So the CFO can help me with growth and have somebody just taking care of all the financials.
Nice. Wow. Sounds like you're making a lot of great moves, and you kind of have to, right? How many employees do you have now?
Around a little bit more than 100, I believe. Yeah. Well, when we open these other ones, I know we'll be like at 130 or so.
130 people. Yeah. That's a lot to manage. Any tips on how you got to the point of being able to manage that many people all at once?
Oh, it's all about the team, right? I don't
Mhm.
manage all those people. It's really all about the team and getting the right people in the right positions, and then really building up your culture as well. You especially in this field in healthcare. I mean, there's so many different caregivers out there and everybody, but you want people in your home that truly care about the residents, but also really buy into your company, your vision, and what it is that you're doing to separate yourselves from anybody else. And that's something that we just had a new leader come into our company, and she said, what is amazing is the loyalty and everybody really just understanding like the model here and not just being willy-nilly like, oh yeah, this is our job. No, they love being in that home and taking care of those residents and the culture that we've built. So I think that's really what it's all about, is focusing again on the people and that culture versus it's just a job. And how are we managing tasks, but how are we allowing them to feel a part of something bigger?
That's so important because if employees have their fulfillment, they feel that culture, they feel valued, they're going to stay. And it's so undervalued these days. Everyone's looking for how do I get the most bang for my buck on employees, and that's just the wrong, And that's one of the reasons I got pushed out the door of the military. I'm still a reservist, but they just kept saying do more with less, do more with less, do more with less, and it just became not about the people anymore, and it was all mission, 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 and that just drives people away. So I'm glad to hear that the culture is the core focus of your company, and that's why people do stay. What is it or what ways have you been able to implement that, or tips do you have for companies that might just be getting started, just, one home? How do you implement that culture from day one?
Yeah, especially if you're just getting started or just have one home, put a lot of focus on that. I mean, set time aside, time block it for yourself to really create that foundation and that structure. That's something I did from the very beginning. And I think that everybody should, even if you're meeting with a specific like story brander or somebody to help you through that, but set your core values, really write out your mission, your vision, your culture statement, what you're trying to achieve, visualize it. It doesn't have to be all pretty and look good, but what does that really look like? How do you want people to feel when they come into your home? How do you want your residents to feel, third-party people when they're associating with you, about that experience? How are they going to feel about that experience walking into your home? So write it out and be very intentional about it. And then once you get intentional about it and you are very clear, then now you can communicate it to others. So you're going to be communicating that to your team. You're going to be talking about it from the day one when you have your first phone screen with somebody, bringing them onto your team. It's going to be part of your orientation, part of your everyday. So them really understanding your vision and what it is that you are all about there is huge, but they're not going to know if you don't even know. So get clear.
Yeah.
The other thing though, to keep driving that home, we've definitely utilized culture coaches, communication coaches, where they're coming in and doing training on a regular basis to continue to focus on that, where you focus on certain words and do all that and how it relates back to the daily work that you have. We've had mindset coaches come in and so utilizing other resources and other resources around you to help with your team can be really instrumental as well.
That's awesome. Sorry to interrupt this episode, but if you're listening to this, then you're already an action taker. And that means you are exactly who we built the Row Room Assisted Living Mastermind for. If you're ready to unlock financial freedom by launching your own residential assisted living home, our community of like-minded entrepreneurs and industry experts will give you the exact steps to make that happen. From licensing to acquiring a home to funding your home to scaling to dozens of homes, we've got you covered. We don't just offer guidance, we provide you with the roadmap, the resources, and the launch pad for your success. And the best part? The investment in yourself today will pay you back many times over, giving you freedom, fulfillment, and financial success in the most incredibly rewarding opportunity in real estate. Ready to dive in? Check out theralroom.com and join us today. That's the RALroom.com. Hope to see you soon. Now back to the episode. I want to hit a couple things there. One is core values and establishing those. I'm finishing up Get a Grip, Gino Wickman, Entrepreneurial Operating System. And one of the big pieces as to establishing your core values is not to be like, okay, well, let's just choose integrity and service, but to instead think of an employee, or maybe like a model employee that works for someone else or someone of like, that's the ideal person at our company or ideal people at our company. And then describe them. Write out some things that describe them. What are they like? Are they super positive attitude? They're always helpful. They're, humble. And kind of describe them and then use that to tailor down to what your ideals or your core values of the company are and should be the standard you hold others to in the future. I thought that was so powerful. Instead of just being like, okay, here's 10 words on a screen. No, think of a person who's doing a really great job, who you think models the ideal culture of your company, and then describe them. Boom, you have your core values.
That's amazing.
And no, I'm not. I can't be hired as a core values coach. But the other piece I wanted to hit was I think it's something you said. I want to reiterate. Like it's okay to hire outside consultants to help you with these things. You can't be an expert at everything. It's just impossible. And you're going to get so much value by hiring someone who does core values every single day, for example, to come in and help your business with that, or a communication coach. If you can afford it, like a coach is such a good value prop because you're just going to accelerate whatever you're trying to accomplish so much faster.
Yes. And again, it's not like it's out of this world to pay somebody for that kind of stuff. I mean, you're talking a couple $100s a month or a few $100s a month, and the impact that it has, huge. It's huge. And he really enjoys hearing another voice besides yours all the time too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, definitely. Our team doesn't want to hear more of my voice. I love to talk. So you help? Well, okay, let me back up because I think our listeners may have missed this. Where are you located?
Yeah, I'm in Southwest Ohio. I'm in Cincinnati area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And all your
Kind of
homes are
something.
located in the same general area?
Yes. Yeah. Within like the Southwest Ohio region.
Okay. Like how separated are they, or are they like really, really close? Like can you cover staff, or are they basically all independent homes?
So I like to cluster where we can. So we have 3 homes on one parcel. We have a couple on another, a few on another one. The other 3 will be on one parcel, one standalone one. Now, I don't want to say that it's more difficult with that standalone one, but we're actively trying to get another 2 or 3 homes around that one so we can utilize staff a little bit better. We do have a PRN pool and people that we can pull from all different locations, because from like our furthest north one to our furthest one away is about an hour and 20 minutes. So it's not crazy far, but not in your backyard either. So I do think it's great when you can have more than just one right there, but it still
So
works.
how do you hire caregivers, and how did you create a PRN pool?
Yeah, so well, we utilize one service that is really more of like a marketplace for caregivers and nurses, and so that's really helpful. And then you can hire directly from them as well. So it's kind of like using agency, but not really, because they could pick up an entire month's schedule as well for you, and you're still paying them about the same amount as you would be paying your employee as well. So
What
very
is
different
that
than
service
agency.
called?
What's that?
What's that called? The service?
That one is Full Rain, but there's other ones out there too
Okay.
that are doing that more like marketplace.
Okay.
So that's helpful. So kind of started with that, but then just talking to people and saying, hey, we have all these different homes. If you're PRN, that we want you to be able to go to all of them. Like when we hire people, most of the time, it's not, hey, you just work at this one building. No, you're an employee of us. So if we need you here or there, that kind of thing. So set it from the beginning, and just really structure the PRN hours and what our expectations would be with that.
How do you ensure that if you have a 1-month hire that they fit with your organization culturally?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously that's kind of an ongoing challenge. I mean, hiring in general can be, but if you're utilizing somebody like that, well, pretty quickly on that first shift if they're a fit or not. But the other thing with like that company per se, or that company, we can offer like an orientation type of thing. So if we post and we say, hey, we're going to need these shifts filled or whatever, that somebody can actually come in for orientation or watch so many videos, and then they'll have like an optimized badge on their thing so that they've gone through and understand who we are and what we're all about before they can pick up shifts with us.
That's smart.
Yeah, so there's
A
that
pre-training.
aspect of it.
Okay, so you coach other RAL operators, right? Fair statement?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So what is the biggest mistake you see them make? Hopefully you're helping them, overcome those, but it happens, right? Like what is the most common mistake or, mistake they want to make that you help them overcome?
I would say the marketing side of things. I work a lot with people in healthcare that are wanting to get into this space. And so it's great. They know the clinical side. They know how to take care of people, and they love doing that. It's the understanding the business side of it, but more importantly, like the marketing part. So I've had people that have come up with their whole flyers and I've shown them to me, and they're like, Lindsay, we're so excited. Look at this. And I'm like, okay, like this is good, but now how do we make this great? Like, let's really look at your verbiage and let's understand this a little bit more to really separate yourself, because you're not separating yourself at all on here, that differentiator. And then also with the networking, teaching networking, effective networking has been the biggest thing. Again, working a lot with medical people, healthcare people, and then they go out to networking. We've never been trained on that. You don't understand what that means. A lot of people get really intimidated even walking into a room full of people they've never met before. So now how do we make the best use of that time? How do we get referrals from that time? I would say that's probably the biggest mistake. Or Lindsay, I went to 3 networking events this week and nothing's happened. Okay, well now let's talk about what did you do after that networking event? What are your follow-up items? Who did you connect with? What's on your schedule for next week? If you went to 3 networking events, you should be slammed next week. So that's probably the biggest mistake, is really understanding that aspect of it.
I heard Brandon Turner say on one of his podcasts, like, you go to 1 networking event, you check the box. You go to 2 networking events, you check the box. Nothing really happens. You go to 10 networking events, you meet the one person that invests in all your deals for the foreseeable future, where, this is just an example, that funds all your deals and it really gets your business off the ground and allows you to scale and stuff. Well, then all 10 of those events were worth it because you didn't know which one you were going to meet the right person. right? So you have to look at that as the return on the total activity versus I went to one and it didn't work. And something you said about the marketing piece, I want to just kind of relate this to being a real estate agent. And you're 100% right. Like most existing homes have no Google presence, they have no website, and they're screaming on a Facebook group, how do I get more residents? It's like, what, how do you have no presence? Nobody knows you exist, right? And so, yes, you could go out there and you can go in the community. There's a bajillion ways to generate leads for any business. It can be networking, it can be referrals, it can be online, it can be social media. Those all work. Everything works. You just have to pick some and do it. But it is amazing to me that some don't have online presences. But where I'm going with this is, I ran a real estate team for 5 years. I brought 120 agents to my brokerage. And the biggest piece of advice I gave to new agents, because so many real estate agents I got my license, I joined a brokerage. Where's my clients? It's like, that's not how that works. You have to go get your clients. So many people enter the industry thinking that the most important skill is passing that exam or slinging real estate, when it doesn't matter if you can't get a client. The most important skill in any industry, including a real estate agent, is marketing. And so, and that's what I would tell people straight up. They schedule a call. Hey, I want to join your team. Listen, the most important thing you got to do is market. And they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, you're not a good fit, And so, but the ones that do listen, crush it. So I'm hopeful that everyone is listening to you. I hope everyone listening to this podcast understands, like, hey, marketing is what you got to do. And you don't have to be an expert to do these things. There's so many free resources out there. Google My Business is free. You can create websites for like $10 a month. Like, none of this is hard anymore. Okay.
I was going to say, that's the most exciting thing. We live in an age right now where like everything is at our fingertips. You want to market, 100%. You want to come up with verbiage. If you're like, I'm not even a good writer. Awesome. You have ChatGPT now. I mean, you have so many resources that there should be no excuses for any of that at this point.
No excuse. Yeah. I'm with you. Okay. Let's talk about trends.
It's really an exciting thing.
Yeah. It is. And the tools are just getting better and better. I mean, we're using ChatGPT multiple times a day. And I think that, just kind of on that topic, real quick, if you're not using it, you're wrong. Because guess what? Your competitors will. And if they can crank stuff out faster than you lose. So, I think that everybody needs to be using it. Everyone should have the premium subscription. I'm not getting anything from ChatGPT for saying this, though. When the robots take over, I hope they acknowledge that I said please and thank you a lot.
But back to that point though, if you're just getting started or you're in your first home, or maybe you don't have your full policy and procedure manual or employee handbook or all that, there's so many resources out there to go get a generic one. Put what you are envisioning together with ChatGPT, and oh my gosh, you can have it done so quickly, much quicker than what we were able to do even 8 years ago, right? So utilize those resources and you can play catch up very quickly.
I built a whole assistant. I did this in an hour for the RAW room. I was like, all right, guys, here's how to use ChatGPT. Actually, it took us a half hour because we used the other half hour for a CRM. But I was like, here's how to make your own assistant in ChatGPT. And I built one in a half hour that knows everything about Virginia regulations, codes, licensing, everything about residential assisted living for the state, and was answering every question I had. And right? I just trained it. I provided the right information. I gave it the right resources, and boom, now I have the exact resource I need for any future work on building or growing or buying assisted living in Virginia. So guys, you just got to get with it. Okay. I still can't get with Instagram, but the rest of you got to get with ChatGPT. Okay. So on the trends we're talking about now, what kind of industry trends do you see in assisted living? Like, what do you think is happening currently with the model, or where do you see it evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh gosh, again, this is why it's exciting to be here. I see it trending upward, hands down. I mean, again, now we can reach people so much easier than ever before. And also the education is out there now on residential assisted living homes. Before, these were more group homes, and they existed definitely on the West Coast, East Coast, Arizona, Florida, the Midwest. Again, when I first started and I was saying, oh, I have a residential assisted living, people would be like, huh?
They're like, what?
Yeah. Oh, it's that group home thing, right? That's like Medicaid. I'm like, no. People didn't have they didn't understand what it was. And it's still an educational topic, but it's different now. They're starting to get it. And as this industry evolves, they're going to get it even more, which means more residents that we can serve, more families that we can serve, and more homes that are going to be needed. We all know that there's going to be a shortage of beds in the very near future. How can we be a part of solving that problem? And it's not that difficult. Right? It's not that difficult to create one of these and be a part of that solution.
Yeah, I agree. The shortage of beds is now. The demand is going to outpace supply by 3.5x. Like more homes are not coming online fast enough. It's not going to be possible. If you look at the data, it's absolutely insane. The population over 85 is going to double over the next decade. Like it's insane just how much of a need there is and is going to continue to be. We could each go build 100 more residential assisted living homes and not make a dent. Right. Which I think is so cool. There's not a lot of opportunities like that in our lifetimes to just be on the tailwinds of something so big, so in demand. And for me, it's clear as day that I don't want to say you can't lose because, ultimately there could be things that go wrong, but it's really hard to in this, right?
Yeah. But the other part of that too is that it's not like we have found this avenue of like stores or something that we can just go and sell a product or buy a stock. No, we are actually serving humanity. We're serving people, families. We're making a huge impact. For every one resident that you have in your home, think about all the people in their lives that you're positively impacting.
Family.
I mean,
Yeah.
There's a huge ripple effect. So It's that feel good too, that you're doing something purposeful and really just making an impact in the world. So
yeah, and it's incredible, right? I remember my grandmother in a nursing home. I remember clearly because she was there after she broke her hip. It was 9/11. So I remember as a kid being in the room, so I could still smell it and see it and everything. And at the time, residential assisted living really wasn't a thing in that area of Maryland. So we opted for kind of like in-home hospice care after that, those kind of things. But man, having homes now and been in beautiful homes and seeing your beautiful homes and others, like it's a night and day compared to, a big box nursing facility. Not that those aren't required. And for, more independent seniors, a lot of times they got more activities. That's going to be a better fit for a while. But at some point, a residential assisted living home is going to be a better fit for a lot of seniors. And you're absolutely right. Like owning Airbnbs, okay, cool. You get a little bit of like pride of ownership and every now and then you get a 5-star review. I guess that felt good. Or somebody has something nice to say. Then you get those crappy guests, right? And you're like, why am I doing this? In assisted living, it's different. You are literally fulfilling nonstop, right? And changing lives and impacting lives nonstop, which I think is super beautiful.
Yeah. You did say something I want to capitalize on about in-home care. And it's a topic that is consistently coming up in the industry. And, you always hear, well, we just want to keep mom at home. We just want to keep mom at home. And Council on Aging and these other government institutions are really pushing, like, how can we just keep them at home? It's so much better for them. And I think we all are really starting to understand it's not always better for them. Yes, I know mom probably said, if you ever have to put me in a home, go take me out back and shoot me. But that's not reality anymore. Like there's really great places to be where we can provide safe care and all that. But the other side of that is when they have that in-home care, staffing now. I mean, staffing has changed so much in the past 4 years. And to be able to maintain that, and we already know that there's going to be a shortage of nurses and all of that in the future. So now to have those going from home to home, I just see that that's going to be really impacted. And if we can have a group of people into one home, just how much more we can do for them as well.
Yeah. And just to kind of push on that comparison a little bit more, when you look at the numbers and the average cost of a in-home caretaker, just at a basic level rather than, like higher acuity, that's more expensive than residential assisted living. And so mom or dad is at home and that's just like during the daycare while you're at work, right? So you kind of have to decide, you quit your job and stay home, or you hire someone and it's more expensive than a residential assisted living home. You've got that stressor, right? And you have to always be planning for that care. And maybe mom or dad want to maybe age gracefully in an assisted living home instead of being taken care of by their closest family members. There's lots of different considerations there. I think culturally for a lot of families, it is going to be the right move, but I also think for a lot of families, it's not going to be. And so there still won't be enough in-home, no matter what, there's not going to be enough residential assisted living beds. There's not going to be enough in-home care. The wave is coming. And I think a lot of millennials like myself haven't realized that somebody's got to take care of mom and dad, and that's coming right around the corner.
Yeah, it's true. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. For anyone that's on the fence about getting into residential assisted living, what would you say to them?
What's holding you back from just making the jump? I mean, you can read things all day long. You can listen to things all day long. And there's a ton of information out there, but you have to really make a decision and do it. Make sure I would suggest too, make sure your heart is in the right place with it and really understanding your why behind it. Recognizing that you are taking care of people, end of life, and to make sure your heart is in the right place. So, but also just do it. we have all failed at so many things in life, right? And you keep on pushing forward. So to me, like, there's nothing to be afraid of. Make the calls, and there's going to be hoops to jump through just to get your house approved and whatever else, but just have that tenacity and push forward.
Yeah, keep moving, because even failures are learning points, and no one can ever take that information away from you, right? Makes you better in one way or another. That was super powerful.
Yeah. Well, and activity builds on activity as well. So if right now you're just saying, I think I want to do something, then start doing something with this, right? Make a decision today that you're going to pick up the phone and make one call, look at one property, like do one thing, because then it will just keep on building and snowball and into a whole lot. So just keep doing something for it.
That's awesome. Well, Lindsay, this has been absolutely fantastic. So many good nuggets here today. If people want to reach out to you and connect with you, maybe they're in the Midwest or whatever it may be, what's the best way for folks to kind of reach you?
Yeah, I've been redoing my website for my coaching program. So I would say the best way to reach me is to just send me an email, find me on Facebook or Instagram, Lindsay Daudistel, and it's Lindsay at Optimize Senior Living. So Optimize Senior Living is the name of my company. You can always go there and send a message just from our website as well.
So optimizeseniorliving.com?
OptimizeSeniorLiving.com. Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, Lindsay, thank you again for joining us. This has been amazing. You've done so much in the industry. I can't wait to bring you back on the podcast in a year and see how you've doubled everything. It's been an absolute pleasure learning from you.
Talk to you then. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been fun.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to the Raw Room Assisted Living Podcast. We hope you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a raving 5-star review. And a quick review helps more listeners find the show and more seniors get the exceptional care they deserve. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And just so you know, we have prepared some free resources for you to help you succeed in residential assisted living in addition to this podcast. Head over to theralroom.com, that is theralroom.com, to download our free 10-step guide to launch your first or next residential assisted living home, or our 10 reasons to passively invest in residential assisted living ebooks. And if you're ready to take the next step and make real moves in the RAL industry, join us in the RAL Room Mastermind. It is an exclusive community where we deep dive into everything you need to launch and grow your own residential assisted living business. You'll get access to recorded courses, live calls with industry experts, a RAL calculator, resources and tools, like-minded entrepreneurs, funding opportunities, and an expert networking community to help you along your journey. Be sure to join us next time on the RAL Room Podcast as we continue to explore the world of residential assisted living with more great guests. See you then.